Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 1 of Watch Talk. Today, we've got an absolute heavy hitter in the watch game. The man, the myth, the legend, Elton Yau, joining us from Wristcheck. Elton has been in the watch game for a significant amount of time, and many of you will know him as ex-hypebeast. He's also founded his own hip-hop music event promotion company called Bluestick, partnering with Pernod Ricard. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce that. Pernod Ricard. Is that right?
Yes, sounds right, yeah.
Pernod Ricard and Colesberg and much more. So thank you very much for joining us today, Elton. Great to have you here, man.
Oh, thanks for having me as well.
Absolute pleasure. We are also, of course, joined by James and Cabin, the co-founders of Watch.fun. James, what's going on? How are you today, brother?
Good. Excited to start our very first ever, I guess podcast. It's podcast.
Yeah, first ever Watch Talk.
First ever Watch Talk.
Podcast. Awesome. Cabin, how are you, man? How are you doing today?
Good. Just flew in actually yesterday from Hong Kong. I was just with Elton at Wristcheck, picking up some additional watches for the drops.
Amazing. You guys see some nice stuff?
Yeah, he took me to a great dim sum place. He's been going there for 15 years, he told me. That was fantastic.
Oh, awesome. Fantastic, man. All right. Well, without further ado, Elton, we'll dive straight into the questions. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you are employee number 1 at Wristcheck. Walk us back through kind of how that happened and how you got to this point. Did you get poached by from Hypebeast? Did you leave prior to joining Wristcheck? Walk us through the process a little bit about how you ended up there.
Yeah, so I joined Hypebeast because I love like everything about culture. Like growing up, it was all about like your streetwear, your shoes, and then I first kind of got introduced to high-end watchmaking actually through one of the streetwear brands I used to line up to after school, which is Bape, when they used to make Bape X's. So I remember that being the coolest thing back then that I couldn't afford, and I was like, wow, this is super cool. And then come college, I started flipping shoes as well on the side, and was just kind of introduced to the world of I guess really monetizing on things I love. And then after college, I was finding the next thing, and I landed at the job at Hypebeast for 4 years, where I actually met one of the co-founders at Wristcheck, Sean, when he was working there as well, when he was leading HBX. So after that, we had a friendship, and he told me about this idea he was starting, and I thought it was amazing actually. While I was at Hypebeast as well, I was looking into the next thing to invest in, and I actually started investing in watches on the side myself as well. So awesome. Everything made sense for me, like taking a streetwear approach to how, things can be bought and sold, but bringing it to, the secondary marketplace where things are more transparent. Everything just made sense to me. So that's why I decided to join them since day one.
Awesome. And what did Austin and Sean actually pitch you? Like, I mean, what was their kind of initial thing that got you to jump over?
Yeah, this was, I was already a follower of Austin before I met him because, he did something like really cool in my eyes back then, and still really cool today, where, someone from, China, watch influencer actually collaborating with AP on the AP China edition launch. That's something that the industry has never seen in the past. And, I was always, I always thought that was the coolest thing. It really set a new standard, and, how watches, popular culture, and also social media can all blend into one. So, when I heard about the idea where, it is between Austin and Sean, where Austin would bring a lot of his knowledge of the watch world, and also Sean bringing, operational and also marketing know-how from scaling, marketplaces and also e-commerce operations at Hypebeast, everything just made sense to me.
Amazing.
Were you actually in watches before Wristcheck then? Because it sounded like you were kind of already flipping your own before Wristcheck started.
Yeah. I was dabbling into that. Obviously, flipping clothes and shoes for quite a few years. I wanted to find the next thing, and I had my cousin actually back then was the guy who started with watches first. He's like, hey, why don't you join me and see what it's like as well. So I guess that's where I really started understanding the relationship between primary, secondary collectors and everything. And that was a year before I even heard about Wristcheck.
What was the first watch you flipped? Or you remember that first flip And how?
It was a date just. It was a date just. Back then when date justs weren't as popular, we managed to, get, access to date justs, and we managed to find clients for them as well. So that was a whole different process, very different from shoes and clothes and everything.
Wait, is this in Hong Kong?
So it wasn't Hong Kong. Like we were basically buying it from Hong Kong, but we were selling it overseas. So that was my first case, really like why Hong Kong was an important watch hub, because there was so much stock in Hong Kong, and being able to be here, procure watches, that was something special for us. Yeah.
I was going to say, because you said date justs weren't that popular, but date just has been the most popular thing in Hong Kong for a while now. So I guess you were bringing it to another market where they weren't that popular. That makes a lot more sense.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Arbitraging date just.
Yeah, basically arbitraging.
Yeah.
That happens even to this day. I mean, people arbitrage from Japan to America. EP, people arbitrage from Asia into America because
not as popular.
Yeah, EP doesn't do as well in Hong Kong, but does really well in America. So.
Awesome. So, Elton, you've talked about your first year with Wristcheck kind of being in the trenches, wearing a million different hats, doing everything from product to operations, store build out, kind of all at once. What would you say was like your lowest moment from that year that you can have a bit of a laugh about now?
Well, I mean, wow, like for us at Wristcheck, we really started, everything hands-on. I wouldn't say it was the lowest moment, but I think seeing how the company really got built up was very interesting. We started, it was just like, Sean, Austin, myself, and we were figuring out how to sell watches. And back then, we had a, small safe, next to Sean's desk. And, that was the safe that we ran the company out of. And actually in an office that we were, co-renting with another company as well. So Wristcheck was just like 3 desks where we did, marketing, content, pick, pack, ship, watch sales, consignment. It was all condensed in those 3 desks. And, obviously, coming from an operation like Hypebeast and then, starting from scratch again, those were very interesting times, but also, very, very testing times as well, where, everyone was doing everything. And, seeing the company go from that a year later to opening our first store and where we are now, I think everything feels like a dream. It's, very interesting to be part of it.
On a low moment, I mean, something that one of the reasons why we wanted to partner with you guys is because of the authenticity and all the steps you guys take, which we'll get into later. But when you guys were first starting, how did you guys handle that? You didn't have the watchmakers in-house and all that. Did you ever get a fake? Did you lose money on anything like that?
Yeah, actually, we were very fortunate to never have to be part of that, have to deal with anything similar to that, because we only worked with, collectors that already knew Austin, already knew Sean, that, we pre-vetted as well. We were very aware at the very start that, again, like even till today, that like selling authentic watches is everything. And we strive for that, like since day one. So we didn't entertain, outside or like collectors that we didn't know until we knew that the business process was smooth. So again, we were very fortunate. Yeah.
You still keep that safe? You still have that, like, I guess, sentimental?
Yeah, we still have it. Yeah. It's still part of us. It was one of the biggest purchases we made early on. So we keep it here for sentimental purposes as well. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice.
Amazing. That's very cool. All right. Well, Alton, let's run it back a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about like your younger years, your kind of childhood coming up and stuff. Obviously you spoke a little bit about the clothing and shoes, but did anything in like your earlier years kind of set the trajectory of who you are today?
I would say like it really shaped, I guess, like my younger years really shaped a lot of my interests in life. And I think like, my whole career so far has been guided by, my interests and how I can, build within these hobbies and interests that I have. Being in Hong Kong growing up, again, like, very much influenced by a lot of, popular Japanese culture, Japanese streetwear, as well as like a lot of American culture as well, which is where, streetwear, music, and like collectibles all kind of, had a melting pot in Hong Kong. Obviously, Hong Kong is a big culture of, flippers as well. So, back in the day when I couldn't get, certain clothes that I wanted or shoes I wanted, you would go straight to, a reseller in Hong Kong, where he would then, hook you up with the pieces that you want after saving for months. So I think just being part of that culture, having access to that really opened my eyes as to like, I've obviously had my run-ins on like, buying fake, products, buying fake clothes, shoes that I only found out months later that I blew, my savings on back then. So, it really educated me and also told me the importance of like, again, like a lot of things that we do at Wristcheck today, which is, full transparency and trust, because again, a lot of people are willing to pay for the money, pay for the right watch, if it's like properly vetted, and also like, not to say just watches, but clothes and everything as well, which is, again, like, why I was part of like, Hypebeast, and then eventually Wristcheck, because it all resonated with, how my experiences growing up.
Right. I think that's a perfect segue for my next question, which is, did your time at Hypebeast inform or make the transition into watches easier? And like your experience at Hypebeast, I know we chatted a little bit about this earlier, but would you say that it like made the transition over like easier? And what did that kind of look like?
I would say like what I learned at Hypebeast was, on a personal basis, really about how I can turn my hobbies into an actual business. And I really observed how, they were very successful in turning, an interest, almost at one point, even, guilty pleasure, when Hypebeast used to be a negative term, right? And how they managed to move that whole culture, operationalize it, and just being able to be part of it and see, how things, how an interest gets turned into a business, like was very eye-opening for me. And obviously that also guided, the process when I was working with like Austin and Sean in building out Wristcheck as well. It's really like, hey, how do we make this hobby, this interest, like more accessible to everyone, but also at the same time, how do we, hire the right people, build the right company to be able to scale it as well? I think my time at Hypebeast really taught me a lot.
I think we align on this topic. We're trying to build something that is within our passion space, within this hobby. We're productizing it, I think, obviously in a different way than the way you guys are. But it definitely makes business feel less like work. And makes it a lot more fun. You mentioned that you actually mentioned collectibles a few times now. I'm curious, what is your favorite collectible? Because obviously about watches, you talked about shoes, streetwear. I think you mentioned cards, and Kevin just came back and he told me that you're spending up to $2,000 or something like this a month ripping packs. So like, I'm curious, like what's the collectible you like the most? And then I want to dig more into this pack ripping thing.
He's also slinging cards. He's going around buying cards and flipping cards.
Oh, flipping cards as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's in my blood at this point. But no, outside of watches, outside of, I still collect a lot of streetwear as well. But I fell into cards probably 2018, 2019. Specifically sports cards and TCG as well. And it's also been a passion of mine for the last 6 years. Yeah.
What's easier to flip, cards or watches?
Still watches. Very much still watches. The card market is still very early on, especially in Asia right now. It's very interesting seeing how this market grows. Especially in the last 2 years, it's been skyrocketing, but watches has been very, especially for Hong Kong, it's been very mature. It's, again, for a lot of people in Hong Kong, it's been a, hold for, it's been a hold investment for generations. So there is a big culture and also market behind that already. But being able to see that with cards, which is probably what it was like for the watch world like 20 years ago, is very interesting for me. And, obviously growing up with like, Pokemon, like One Piece, and all these other IPs, and seeing, collectibles grow from those IPs now, very exciting for me.
And so where are you ripping these cards? Because $2,000 a month, that's a lot. I'm curious where you're ripping these. Oh,
it's a mixture. I'm doing a lot of whatnot as well. Which I should be holding myself back a little bit on, but also being with Arena Club, Courtyard as well with their packs. It's a very different way of interacting, but again, like very exciting way to interact with this type of collectible.
Okay.
Which one do you enjoy most? You said whatnot, you have to hold yourself back. So just curious, is that the one because of the live that they're picking up the card for you, opening it in front of you, that you really get into it, or what specifically?
They make it so easy. they make it so easy. You know, it's one swipe and, you know, it's a few packs opened already. You know, especially in Hong Kong late at night, you know, I'm winding down in bed. I'm trying to, you know, look at something to wind down, but I end up going on Whatnot, a few swipes in, adrenaline rushing. I'm up for another 3 hours. Like they make it so easy.
The mall is a bit different, right? Because Whatnot, they're actually opening packs, whereas Arena Club and all these guys, they pre-build these things with like grails already inside them. So it's
I mean, they also just like when you open the cards on Courtyard, they kind of do the animation for you as well.
Yeah,
but still not as satisfying as someone opening it up.
It's also like that's a series, right? So the Whatnot, when you're opening those cards, it's like a planned series by Pokemon or by One Piece or whatever the printing company is, but the other stuff is a little bit more structured for. So I think like people are after specific grails. They probably build their own collections also, but yeah.
Is that how you see it? Like you're after some specific grail?
I mean, I guess like you know, for Whatnot, like I want to, let's say if there's a new set, I want to be one of the first guys to you know, chase the grail out of the new pack, right? But for, you know, the Arena Clubs and for Courtyard, it's very much like, hey, here's a selection of cards that you might be able to get, and you know that, you know, I do it less frequent because again, denomination's a lot higher, but also at the same time you might be held with a collectible that you might not be as into. I love Whatnot because again, like new pack might be the first one to get it. I want to chase for it, so it makes it a lot more fun, entertaining as well, since it's live. You know, there's someone talking to you as well. It's just very entertaining.
Got it. That'll probably be helpful for us down the line.
Awesome. James, I believe you still have a couple of questions that you want to go through.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to move on to the Wristcheck side now, and maybe provide my view on this. I actually am very interested to hear your view.
Yep.
So we obviously decided to work with Wristcheck for specific reasons. And to me, what I like about Wristcheck so much is that it is the equivalent of an AD experience in terms of, you know, you walk in, you get a water, they treat you well, you're sitting down in this really nice environment. You bring out a collection. I get to see everything. I get to touch everything. I kind of find out what I actually like. As you said, everything is really transparent. You don't get that, you know, used cars salesman vibe. And you don't have to deal with the ADBS, right? Because, you know, you get that vibe when you go to an 82. But it's almost like a tease, right? They bring out all the nice sport watches, but by the way, you can't buy any of these. So, you know, they put you on a wait list. You know, would you like some of this other stuff, which is, you know, the stuff that especially first timers are not looking for, right? They probably found something online that they want to go after. So you've got the 80 experience that comes with the 80 journey or the 80 game, some people call it. And then you've got the secondary dealers, which is, again, you're dealing with potentially, I mean, there are obviously a lot of trustworthy people in that world, but there's a lot of shady stuff happening. People Frankensteining these watches with, you know, mixing and matching parts. Obviously, you can swap out a dial and you can skyrocket the price of a watch by like, you know, 10, 15, 20 grand. So that's risky. So you kind of get potentially abused either way you go, right? And one way it's like you're not good enough. That's the AD. And then the other way it's like you might be getting scammed. So that's like my experience of Wristcheck. But I would love to hear from your words. Like, do you think that's an accurate representation of what you guys are trying to do, or do you have another way that you describe this?
I mean, I think like you know, I guess like a one-liner for us back then was, you know, if people are paying like 2-3 times market price for a watch in the secondary market, why aren't they getting 2-3 times better service? That was one thing that Austin asked early on, you know, for the business, right? Because, you know, both myself, you know, Austin and Sean as well, we've been, you know, we've also shopped in the secondary market before, but I think for a lot of people who have done that, you know, your experience varies, right? It could be very good or it could be extremely bad. So we wanted to, you know, in terms of customer experience, we definitely strive for at the very least a standard of an AD, if not better. Again, because people are paying up to 2-3 times the retail value, and so they should be getting like amazing service. So that's how we kind of started building the business, right? Like visualizing what our customer experience could be. And then that drilled down to obviously transparency as well. Like how do we disrupt the market by, you know, being as transparent as possible. So then again, clients feel that when they pay the price for these watches in the secondary market, that it's worth it, that they can trust this platform to come back again. And, you know, we're never about like the one-time buys, right? Like we want people to come in, like, you know, if you're a buyer, we would love to convert you to become a seller down the line. And and vice versa as well. So that was a big part of our consideration, comparing ourselves to the ADs and the secondary market dealers in terms of how they interact with customers.
Yeah, I remember when we were in Hong Kong, because when we first came up with this idea, we're like, okay, well, we obviously need to source, so let's go find out who our partner is going to be. And Hong Kong is notorious for this. There's dealers all over the place. We walked all over. We spoke to a lot of people, and I think what I thought was the most interesting about you guys, aside from the setup, the staging or design that you guys have and the customer service, was actually the way you guys grade watches. On the street, it's just new. Everything's new, even though it's like this has clearly been polished before, but it's new. So you guys have this grade scale. It's 1 to 10, but really nothing below a 7 because you guys just don't accept it if it's below 7. So break down this grading scale for our viewers.
Sure. So I guess for us, and this is thanks to Peter, our head of watches. We really wanted to put an objective view in the market. Like you said, if you go to secondary right now, one person's new is not another person's new, right? It's a moving goalpost, especially when you're trying to find like a brand new watch. So we wanted to really drill down to what a 10 means, and our aspirations is to obviously standardize the market. For using other collectibles as an example, just like PSA, like a PSA 10 means something in the market, and that's something we wanted to build. So for us, it was hours and hours of actually taking microscopic photos of like hundreds of watches for us to decide, okay, what a 10 essentially would be as fresh as you would get straight out of an AD, basically. That's what we define as a 10. And then what would a 9 be? A 9 we've noticed could be ranging from mint to brand new, that's sold by other dealers in the market as well. So what does that mean? Does that mean there's certain scratches or certain defects that are still within an acceptable range, for example, right? Diving into that took a long time as well, because again, a customer, if they come in, obviously everyone wants a 10, but what is an acceptable range for us to be able to market a 9 as well, right? And then an 8 is essentially within the range of, I would say, mint / lightly used in the market. Again, how do we standardize that? We looked into how deep we accept each scratch to be, whether there's any repairable scratches or damages, all the way to bracelet wear. Again, these are all things that we considered as part of the process of looking into the grades. And then lastly, 7. 7 would be mainly your pre-owned used watches that you usually get in the market. But again, one thing that we standardized across all 7, 8, 9, 10 is all these watches need to at least come with papers to prove their authenticity as well, or else they won't even be given a number. And then again, anything below what I just described would not qualify for Wristcheck consignment at the moment, at least.
Does that apply to vintage as well? Because obviously vintage may not always be possible on papers and all that.
Yeah, so we have another vintage scale that we have as well. So there's a little bit more leeway in terms of paper, but usually we would very much push for an extract as well to prove, that everything is good. But also at the same time, we have a V scale, V7 to V10. Again, for a V10, it's you're pretty much looking at your watches that you just keep in the safe for a long time. They don't happen as often, but we save that grade for that. And then again, your 9, 8, 7s would be based on usage as well.
Okay, got it. Makes sense.
Awesome. All right, and then I wanted to ask: has there ever been a moment where you found out that a serial number was stolen, or hot, maybe you happened to buy one and then realized later that, oh shit, this is stolen? And if not, or if it did happen, what would you normally do in that case?
Yeah, so all the watches that come through Wristcheck go through this system called the Watch Register. So this is actually a database that they co-manage with Interpol. So every single watch that's stolen in the market is going to be part of that database. And as part of our consignment process, we always put this the serial number into this platform first as a prerequisite. If it does not pass, then we will not, or if there's any question marks in that process, we will not accept that watch at all.
Okay. Awesome.
I did not know that.
Yes. So every watch is auditable in that sense. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say like I lose my watch, I should go to watch register and tell them that I've lost my watch, so it's out
as
there.
long as there's a police report anywhere in the world, then the watch register will pick it up.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
Okay.
Amazing.
I know insurance is often related to this as well, because like when you try to insure a watch, they take all this down, and if it gets stolen, you make the claim, then all that also happens.
Okay. Interesting. Did not know that either.
Yeah. So even if there was a flag to investigate, we will not let that watch be consigned until we get clearance on the serial number.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does that process take a bit of time, or is it just a simple search even just with the serial number?
It usually comes back within like 10 to 20 minutes. So as part of our authentication process, as we're looking into the watch, we'll punch in the serial number and they'll shoot us an email within 10, 20 minutes usually. If anything longer, then they're usually, they might be taking more time, then we'll also hold the intake process as well.
Okay. I would love for you to maybe elaborate a little bit more. Like, let's say a watch comes to Wristcheck. Let's say one of the sellers, I have the Daytona here, I want to sell the watch to Wristcheck or consign it with you guys. What does that typical process look like as soon as I give that watch to you?
Yeah, so I guess it depends whether you're online or offline. So if you're online, you can go to our site. You can upload all the photos, request for a quotation, and then after that, one of our concierge members will provide a quotation. And then if you accept that quotation, then you can either bring it into the store, ship it to the store. And once that watch arrives in our showroom, we will then, our PS team, our professional services team, will then look at the watch, do all the checks to make sure everything's okay. At the same time, the serial number will go through watch register to be approved. And once that's approved, we will then look into the watch. If there's any need for us to look deeper into the watch, we'll ask the consignor for permission first, of which then our professional services team will open the watch in front of them and check all the details inside as well. And when everything is good, they'll create a report for the consignor to take away. And then after that, the consignment process is complete, at least on the authentication side. After that, it goes to our creative team in-house, who will then shoot the watch, shoot videos, and then within 2 days after that, it'll be uploaded in our website. So the whole process typically takes 3 to 5 days after drop-off.
Okay, good to know. Yeah. That's good. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Awesome. All right, and so correct me if I'm wrong, but Jay-Z and I don't know how to pronounce this, but Mbappe invested in Wristcheck?
Mbappe, yeah. They did.
Mbappe.
Yes.
Okay, and how did this impact the business, and what does it actually mean for the business?
Yeah, so
also,
again,
would love maybe for you to elaborate how you even got Mbappe and Jay-Z into it.
Yeah. So I guess to answer Chris's question first, we're definitely in the business of trust, right? Trust and transparency, and having the endorsement of Jay-Z and Mbappe means a lot to us, because it also means that a lot of people feel a lot more comfortable in buying watches, or even talking to us about watches as well. We understand that this market, again, it's a very noisy market where there's a lot of options, but also not a lot of transparency in how watches are sold. So having Jay-Z and Mbappe in our team just gives people a lot of confidence in being able to reach out to us for the first time, especially in markets where they have a lot of reach. For example, like the US and Europe as well.
Awesome.
And Kevin, your question on how it was very organic, actually. A lot of our early days, we were trying to consign and sell watches, and in Jay-Z's case, he actually ended up buying a few watches from us first through Austin.
Wow, that's
so, yeah, it was a very organic process, and then he also trusted our services, our brand, and after that, the investment conversation came along.
Do you remember the first few watches that he asked you to source? Did you have it on hand, or did you have to run around and find the watch? What was that initial relationship with him?
Yeah, it was interesting. He was looking for a very specific watch that one of our consigners had. So it was a very interesting process where we knew that this watch existed for maybe a month, and then all of a sudden Austin got a ping. Jay-Z's looking for this watch, and he was the guy that pieced everything together and built that relationship as well.
Was Austin able to meet Jay-Z himself and go through all that?
Yes. It was very cool for us.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's super.
And how
cool.
about Mbappe? Was there also a similar story with that?
Mbappe was similar as well. So Mbappe, members of his team were looking for watches, again, it was a very organic process where, they understood the brand first, and then they kind of started looking into, us as a company, and then one thing led to another. and then he became an investor as well.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. James, I believe you have a couple of questions lined up.
Yeah. So obviously, we're super excited to be able to partner with Wristcheck for all the sourcing. It handles a lot of stuff for us, just like with you guys, right? You're looking to always amplify your trust, and for us, we're also trying to do that, especially with the space that we're in.
Right.
Working with you guys just gives me confidence that our customers are going to get what they're after as well. I'm curious, from your perspective, what are you personally excited about, if anything? I mean, I don't want to force you to say something, but what are you personally excited about as it pertains to Wristcheck or sorry, Watch.fun?
Well, you know, I love the way, like, you know, you guys are approaching you know, this whole space of, you know, watch buying and also watch collecting as well. You know, I love the fact that you guys are focusing very much on a collector focused way of, you know, for people to gain access to these pieces as well. Like, you know, the storytelling behind the watches. You know, I see, you know, a lot of different alternatives in the market right now where it's very much about like just getting the watch. But I love the storytelling aspect. I love the fact that, you know, after I met you guys are very much, you know, watch collectors yourself, and you guys are also very excited about the industry. I think that's going to build a really good community for you guys. And personally, I think this is the platform that I would use, you know, as a watch enthusiast and collector as well, because it speaks a lot more to me. You know, the curation is on point, and also it's just a really fun way to interact. You know, if, you know, 10 years ago, you know, when I was still saving up for watches, like, I think this is definitely a platform I would interact with, because it again, it's so fun, it's educational, and at the same time, like, you know, there's a chance you could win a watch of your dream, so why not?
That means a lot for somebody who is up at 3 a.m. opening whatnots. That is a approval from me.
We'll keep him up longer.
Yeah.
We'll keep him up longer.
Once we get all the live stream and entertainment, I mean, that's something we want to get into as well someday. So let's see how we can work a lot of. I mean, I'm definitely going to ask you questions, right? Because now that I know you're using whatnot, I want to understand that psychology and see how do we productize something like that into Watch.fun. You mentioned something earlier. You brought up Peter and Austin. I'm curious from your perspective. I mean, you've been flipping watches even before Wristcheck. Now that you're working with these two, Austin has a huge following in the watch world, and you know, was able to break ground in a way that probably surprises a lot of people. I mean, being able to do a collab, and he did the EP collab before Wristcheck, right?
Correct.
How do you even do? How does that happen? How do you pull that off? How do you do a collab when you're just a guy on the internet?
Well, I think you know, Austin was definitely, like, you know, he carved out his own path very early on in the watch scene. You know, him being a very young collector from China as well. You know, he was one of the first people to highlight, you know, watches in a way that really spoke to the younger generation. You know, the photography style, the way he talked about watches, it really resonated. And so he became one of the, you know, flag bearers of, you know, the younger watch community, as well as the Chinese watch community as well. Again, which one thing led to another. You know, he met a lot of people in Geneva as he was invited to a lot of watch shows, and one thing led to another. You know, pulled off one of the best collaborations in my eyes. You know, in the last few years. It's a very, very nice piece, I still think, till today.
Yeah. So, I mean, you working with these two, what is it like? What is it like working with Austin? What is it like working with Peter? Both of them who are pretty well known in the watch space independently for different things.
Oh, it's very cool. Like, honestly, like, again, like, even before I learned about Wristcheck, you know, I was already a follower of Austin. Like, I love his content. I love the view he has for watches. Again, like, the main driver for me, you know, even joining Wristcheck was his vision, because, you know, me buying watches myself, there's been a lot of bad experiences, and, you know, every day he's trying to push us to, you know, how can we make the market more transparent and better for everyone, right? So again, like, very inspiring for me. And on Peter's end, you know, again, like, everyone, you know, whoever looks at his content knows that he's very passionate about watches, but on a different scale. You know, like, he's looking into all the details, the hand making, everything. To be honest, as a collector, like, a lot of new information I haven't, you know, even, like, you know, touched on myself. So I see him as a walking watch encyclopedia, where, you know, I'm just, like, learning new things every day. So yeah, it's super interesting working with the two of them.
Yeah, when Peter starts talking, that's when you know there's, like, levels to the watch game, because like, his passion is super visible, but then you start to learn stuff that
You never knew.
Like about watches that you never knew or that you would never even know is like a detail. He can get into every watch, which is insane.
Yeah, and then curious, you started flipping Datejust, and then you start flipping other watches. So I would love to know like your experience in terms of learning about watches, right? First, I'm guessing I would love to know like what got you into flipping watches initially, because you were doing cards and shoes before. When you got into flipping watches, how did you learn to make sure that it's authentic, there's no Frankenstein parts, nothing's fake? And then how has that evolved as soon as you brought Peter into Wristcheck, and what else did you learn from him?
I mean, honestly, when I first started, I didn't know any better. Like, I looked online, went on all the Rolex forums, saved all the images on my phone with like, all the tells, and I just like, went in and tried it out. It was not a well calculated process, I must say, but it got me to start, in the watch industry. And since joining Wristcheck, I've learned that there's like so many intricacies, there's so many things to catch, especially with fake watches. You guys have seen the fake watches that like keep in stock for R&D. Like, they're, to be honest, like if you didn't know what you were looking out for nowadays, like if you don't have someone like Peter, it's super easy to buy a fake watch and never know until 10 years later. So it's beyond what like someone with an untrained eye can see, and that is why we are really we're really proud of our services as well, because everything goes through Swiss Watch trained like authentication specialists.
Okay. I'm curious about your taste, like the taste that you've developed as well. I've noticed myself as you get into it, like I thought I was a collector back when I was in real estate, and I had like 5 or 7 Rolexes, somewhere in there, kind of depending on if I had sold one and bought something new.
Right. And
now more recently, stepping back into it and doing a lot of the research, I was pretty happy the first time I put an AP on. And then I was again pretty happy the first time I put on a Patek. And then I think it was definitely at the Patek where I was like, this is an infinite staircase. Like, I'm now seeing the crazy collection you guys have. There's like $250,000 pieces, $500,000 pieces, $1 million pieces. I'm like, okay, I don't want to do like the more expensive climb anymore. So now I'm kind of trying to find my own thing. I'm curious, what was your taste journey and how did you develop it, and where are you now?
Honestly, like I would say my process is kind of messed up in a way, because I started with Datejust. I started with like more like entry-level Rolexes, and then all of a sudden I met Austin. I still remember the first collector meetup he brought me to. There was Richard Mills, like super rare Pateks and everything, and I was trying it on my wrist, and this is went from Datejust all the way to 7-figure watches. So it kind of distorted my journey. But after that, being able to try on like all these amazing watches as they would come in as the business was growing, honestly, amazing experience. Like, again, like a lot of these pieces you're only able to, for me back then, I was only seeing them on YouTube, on like Instagram, but being able to actually hear the collector who bought them talk about it and also let me try it on, as someone who, was part of the, YouTube grind and everything, like it was quite magical. Yeah.
So where are you in your collector journey now? Like what do you aspire to? What are your grails?
Or what's your next grail? What do you want?
Man, I have a lot of watches that I love. I on a more like day-to-day basis, for a watch I can wear every day, probably the 5712, Patek. I think it's the perfect watch, man. It's the perfect everyday watch. Yeah.
It's so Cash from Jupiter.
Yep.
That's his grail. So he saw the 5712 1R that we have on the website, and he's like, I need to win this thing. And that's actually what started him reaching out to us, and then we eventually brought him on as an advisor. So it's like a pretty similar story to where your customers are turning into investors, advisors. This is exactly what happened with Cash as well.
Cool. Alrighty. So moving on, Elton, you guys have been Asia-based for quite a while and recently expanded to the US. Tell us a little bit more about where you've expanded to in the US and a little bit about the move and kind of how it's going on the other side of the pond.
Yeah. So we opened our New York store last June. So it was a whole process, again, like it's not easy growing a brand, from Asia to the US as well. And, with Jay-Z's investment, we were able to, really supercharge, our North American aspirations, because again, there's a great buyer base over there, a very educated watch market that we wanted to be part of. So, since opening in May, it's been amazing. We're actually located in Tribeca, New York. We purposely put ourselves at a more quiet area that's more exclusive, because again, we wanted to show our clients that, again, like, it's all about service, it's all about experience, and we wanted a dedicated space for that. So since we moved over, since we opened in New York, business has been amazing for us.
Amazing. And I guess then that answers my next question, was, did it meet, exceed, or miss your expectations? But based on what you said, I'm guessing it definitely exceeded your expectations.
For sure. I think, like, especially for us, like, we're really pushing service, transparency in the US. Again, this is something we strive for, but also something that the US market resonates with a lot as well. So it's been doing very well for us.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so you guys painted all the bus stops. You got the buses with Wristcheck and everything. So curious, how did that all come together? And what was like that big marketing push that you did in the US?
Yeah, so we were brainstorming because we wanted people to know we were in town, and we were brainstorming how our target market would travel within the city if there's a traffic, and happens quite often in New York. And one of the ideas that one of our team members came up with is, why don't we advertise in the city bikes? Because when everyone's rushing to work and when there's a traffic, everyone hops on a city bike and goes, right? And it's been very fruitful for us, because a lot of people come and they're like, oh, I was biking to work, and I saw your sign and just wanted to come check it out. So that was one of the key ideas.
Okay, sick. That's good. I mean, I guess it worked out, because I think people saw it and they were posting on it as well. I saw.
Exactly.
I'm actually kind of surprised. I feel like that wouldn't have been my first thought, because bus stop and city bike is usually not what you would relate to, like extreme affluence, which is kind of what I assume the marketplace is. But I think there's like a big cultural side of that with New York in particular as well. That's like, regardless of the wealth, there's still a lot of this footwork that happens in New York.
It's also like in the movies, they always have that bus coming up, and then you see like the huge poster on the bus. Yeah. So it's like a movie scene. When I saw like the photos and the videos out there, it seemed like a movie scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, I guess to not, hopefully I don't sound too cliche, but time is the most expensive thing. And like, when in New York, like, you're trying to hop on a car, get somewhere, and there's a big traffic, like, you'd rather just hop on a bike and get it done. That's what I've learned, right? So we were able to reach out to a lot of customers that way, actually, a lot.
Okay, awesome. Well, look, I noticed something on your wrist that you're wearing today, so I'd love to maybe for you to just show what exactly you're wearing and talk to us a little bit more about. Later Chris will ask you a few more questions, so I'd love for you to dive into that.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Rolex Batman, my favorite watch, my first big purchase ever. So it's a watch that means a lot to me in many ways. So yeah, it's part of my regular rotation.
So obviously this is the watch that you are curating for us as well. I wanna hear more about the story behind this. So for our users, we actually have it here. This is the Rolex GMT Batman. This is actually going to be dropping on our platform, and we've asked you to curate a watch. This is what you've selected. What is your story? What is your relationship with this watch? I mean, of course, you said just now it's your favorite watch. You love it, but how did it come to be? What's the full story from the moment you decided that this is the watch you wanted to getting it? What did you feel was your first impression?
Yeah, I guess I can go into the story of how I bought it. I always tell people that this is probably still one of the more expensive watches I've bought, since I started watch collecting. And the reason why is because, during college, I actually ran a Bitcoin mining operation out of my friend's garage for a few years. I think you guys see it. And this was 2012, and we bought a few PCs, mined Bitcoin out of his garage, and his parents didn't find out. Obviously we were just like kind of running it without telling them, and we did quite well. Obviously in 2012, and 2015 after graduation, I started working, and I was like, hey, like I do want a big boy watch. I want an adult watch, and that kind of went back to, to my days, like in streetwear, where the first watch I ever admired, that was expensive to me was the Bapex. So I walked into the Rolex store, saw the Batman, and was instantly in love. And that was when I sold all my Bitcoin and bought this watch. So again,
so I was gonna ask how many Bitcoins does it cost you?
I forgot the exact number, but whatever it was back in 2015, in today's value, it is the most expensive watch.
I feel so much pain right
man.
But also it's the most significant watch for me as well, because it was a turning point for me where something I admired when I was 10 years old. I managed to earn my own money and purchase it. So this is a watch I'll never sell. It means a lot to me in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, you can never sell it now because the Bitcoin, I mean, that watch is worth probably like $1 million now in like Bitcoin value. So yeah, that can't be sold. That is an amazing story. I did not expect that we were going to
But you got that from the AD?
I did. I got it from an AD. Like, I had someone who introduced me, because I'm like, I have to get this watch. It's something I really wanted. So, I was lucky enough to be able to pick it up from an AD. Yes.
I was going to say, it's quite difficult to get a Batman as a first person just walking into an AD.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So introduction relationships like that help? Like somebody can kind of bring you along and be like, this is somebody I know. And
yeah, it's not easy, but in this case, like, I actually had a family member who had a quota, and I was like, I would love to take it. In hindsight, maybe if it didn't happen, I would have been happier with Bitcoin. But hey, this is a piece I'll never sell, and I'll probably pass it on to my kids as well. It means a lot to me. There's a lot of stories to tell.
Yes, I mean, that is an amazing story. So then when you pass it on to him, like, just know that this thing is worth millions of dollars because of
and then we'll see where Bitcoin is then when he passes it along to his kids.
Yeah. Higher than. I didn't know you were such a degen like us. Like, I know you kind of dabble in crypto, but you're actually probably earlier than all of us.
Yeah.
I didn't get in until 2014 when I was actually arbitraging in Hong Kong.
Right.
I don't know if you know this, but in 2014, 15, before they shut down BTC China, you could arbitrage BTC China with America, but then you had to go through this loophole with Hong Kong because the RMB, you had to get back into Hong Kong dollars to wire it back. That's what I was doing. It took forever though. It took like almost 2 weeks to get everything to clear and wire transfer.
Logistically, that must have been like a lot.
It was okay because I had family members, right? That's actually how I was able to make it work. I had a bunch of family members that were in Hong Kong. So, but if you didn't have that, then you wouldn't be able to. Yeah, you're actually in the room here, which is weird because we're crypto natives. You're actually the biggest OG in crypto here. Just surprising. I didn't think that was.
I didn't know what I was doing in 2012. I remember my friend printed out in the school printer in college like a 5-page document for me to essentially invest part of my rent into this thing called Bitcoin. And I remember I was like, okay, you know what, like, let's just try it out. I'll figure out rent later on, and it kind of paid off. Yeah.
Nice. That is an amazing roommate. I would guess today that roommate is doing very well.
We sold it together. He bought a watch as well, so we both remember it by
But the thing is, whoever that person is, he thinks ahead, right? I mean, you guys are in college and you're thinking about investing in Bitcoin, so I suspect whatever he's doing now is also he's early to whatever he's doing now. Also, probably
he is. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Awesome. The GMT for me in particular, I also feel like. So like a lot of people love the Submariner. They want all these like Rolex sport watches, but like 98% of the people who buy a Rolex buy a Submariner aren't diving with it. But the GMT to me actually makes a lot of sense because when I travel, all I have to do is click it a few notches and I kind of know what time zone I'm in. For me in Bangkok, when we go to Hong Kong, it's super easy. Actually, with Hong Kong, you don't need to, just -1. But Dubai is more tricky for me. So Dubai is actually where I use it the most. And so it's like a sport watch, but to me, it's like the businessman sport watch, right? The sport watch that you actually travel with. I get utility out of because like the 60-minute like diver timer is not gonna help me at all. but the GMT is actually useful. Do you ever use it? When you're flying, do you ever set the 24-hour hand and then adjust it, or do you not use it?
I do for fun, but I usually just check my phone nowadays. But for me again, like this watch just means a lot to me. Like I mean, again, like whenever I'm traveling or whenever I'm about to head into something important, I always wear this watch. It's kind of like you can call it like my safety blanket, but also at the same time it kind of reminds me of everything that I've been through as well. It means a lot to me. Sure. Yeah. So this watch that you guys are like raffling off as well, like I'm sure it'll mean a lot to someone else too, whoever gets it.
And I would love to dive in a little bit more. So you got the Rolex Batman GMT Master 2. Why is it called the Batman, and why did you pick the Batman?
Well, why is it called the Batman is because of the color scheme, the bezel with the black and blue. So that kind of reminds people of Batman. And why I picked the Batman was because that was the exact Bapex colorway that I fell in love with. And I wanted, the version that it was trying to emulate, which, is the Rolex Batman. So it was very much like as soon as I knew I could afford it and I wanted a watch, it was a straight line for that watch. It was nothing else.
Can you tell me what is this? I don't know this Bapex watch that you're talking about. What is this? And then like the color line, what is the relationship?
It was actually like Bape, the clothing brand back then. They made spoof Rolexes. Essentially it looks like a Rolex, but instead of Rolex, it says Bapex. And so like back then that was my first, entry into how watches could be cool. But I always wanted, the original of what it was trying to emulate. So it for me, it was like Batman as soon as I could afford it. Yeah.
I did not know that they did that. Did they get in trouble for that, or I guess they renamed it, so it's probably okay. Bapex.
They still do it right now. They still have Bapex. I think they got into a little bit of trouble for it, but they're still doing it very much right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know Bape was even still around.
Bape is still around.
Okay. I just don't see them as much as I used to. Like in high school, they were just everywhere. Everyone had Bape. Everyone had fake Bapes as well.
Yeah. That was the thing. It was the full zip up hoodie with like the teeth. That was a really popular thing.
Super sick.
I actually one more thing before you take over here, Chris, because I was saying that I like to move the watch dial. I think actually for me, if I'm being honest, the most important thing is that I actually have my watch set on the right time, because I never want to be the guy who, if you're wearing a nice watch and somebody goes, "What time is it?" and then you look and your watch is off, and then you have to pull out your phone. I don't want to be the guy that gets caught not actually using the super expensive watch. Like, I don't need it for time, but the time does have to be right. Otherwise, I'm going to look like an idiot when somebody asks me a time and I have to use my phone.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
That's why the GMT is valuable. I do, as soon as I get on an airplane or as soon as I land, I adjust my time because I don't want my time to be off.
Makes sense.
Good man. Alrighty, I'm gonna push forward a little bit. I wanted to ask, what's the experience that you would want or think? What is the experience you would want or think the first winner will feel when they unbox this watch? Because obviously it's a very special watch to you. But what are maybe some standout features or something that they will feel when they actually open the box and they see the watch for the first time?
I mean, honestly, I think especially for Rolex, just the quality of watchmaking is excellent. Like, you look at it, just even the bracelet, the middle links, the mirror polishing of that, it's beautiful. And then, how it extends all the way to the bezel where, the black and blue, it is separated, but at the same time, it kind of blends together in a very like harmonious way. Like on the sides, like it kind of feels like it's, I don't know, something super dreamy about that. And also again, like once you pick up the watch and you put on your wrist, just the weight and, the finishing and all the details, this is where Rolex really shines, is when you put it on and it feels robust, by the same time, like so elegant.
Amazing.
That is a good way to describe it. It's chunky, but it's very elegant, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a beautiful piece. All right, Elton, well, we're moving into our kind of closing thoughts for the day and rounding things up. So we got a couple more questions left, and we'll get through those as quickly as possible.
Sounds good.
With your experience and knowledge of the industry, give us an unpopular opinion of the industry as a whole, kind of behind the scenes.
Unpopular opinion. Let me think.
Tough question.
Can I get back to you? That's a tough question. I'll
Absolutely,
get back to you.
That's fine. We can also skip that one, and we can move on to the next question. Kevin, I know the next question is over to you if you'd like to take it.
Yeah. So who do you think in the watch world is not getting enough attention?
Who in the watch world is not getting enough attention? Actually, I would say like a whole movement, of like Chinese watchmaking is not getting enough attention in the watch world. Like there are some very, very interesting designs and like watchmaking that's coming out of China right now that we're seeing. For example, like, Barons, they're very, very, forward with like innovation, with like watch movement making. And then you have like Famau Hut, who won the LVMH prize this year. Again, very innovative designs, like very cutting edge. People are willing to take risks as well. And obviously there's Atelier Wen, like, again, China watchmaking, a brand that we've collaborated with as well. Amazing like dial making as well. I think there's just so much good stuff coming out of Chinese watchmaking that people aren't paying attention to.
Okay, interesting.
We gotta get some of these links so we can dig into some of these later.
Yeah. So I mean, like, look, Austin did AP China, right? You guys just announced Piaget and Wristcheck did a collaboration of the 30 limited pieces. So one, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about your collaboration there. But are we going to be expecting another collaboration with one of the Chinese brands maybe coming up with Wristcheck?
Yeah. So, with Piaget, it was a very, very like long process. Again, we started with ideating with them almost, I want to say 1.5 to 2 years ago, where, we knew we wanted to, start something together. It was Austin driving this conversation. And then, we went into ideation as to what it could be. Obviously, being, working with such a big watch brand and such a big catalog, it took a long time for us to be able to pick the perfect piece with them. And then it came like ideation and design, right? And, this was Austin and team leading, the design process with the Piaget team. Again, the whole process was super smooth. But it was something that we had to keep under wraps for quite a while because, we had to wait for the watch to be made and also the prototype to be made as well and sent to us. So again, like a very long process in the making, but we're very glad it's launching and, limited to 30 pieces. And yeah, like we actually just launched it this past Monday. So it was a big sigh of relief for us, but also a very proud moment for the company.
What happens with the concept? Are you keeping that or is that back with them?
It's with us right now. So it's actually one of the pieces that we're showing clients, like if they're interested and they can try it on and experience, the collaboration. And if they're interested, then they can then purchase. So it is still like cycling between New York, Hong Kong, Macau showrooms for us to show clients right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, awesome.
Does the concept become one of the 30 or is that always kind of off on the side?
Oh, it's off on the side. Yeah. So it's a special piece.
Is that something that will be sold or you guys will be keeping as a sentimental value as well within the company?
I think we're gonna wait and see first. We're gonna pass it back to Piaget and then they'll decide what to do with it afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. And I saw that, like with that collaboration piece, the blue is the Wristcheck blue. How long did that take to get right? Or what was that process to actually choose the colors to put into a watch?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like we thought about like, part of the design process, that Austin was leading. It was very much like, hey, what would represent Wristcheck properly? And we thought like, the Wristcheck blue, which is something we've been associating with our branding for a long time. That was one thing that Austin really wanted to highlight as well. So, I guess like deciding, for Austin, what represented Wristcheck, that was a little bit of back and forth and also ideating, but then ultimately, getting the blue and getting it to be, represented correctly in the watch, that was relatively smooth process as well.
Okay. And let's say if someone wants to get a Piaget Wristcheck collaborated piece, what do they have to do? Where do they have to go to get it? And how much would it cost?
Yeah, shoot us a DM. So, we shoot our concierge can help, put in the order and also direct people to the right way to make this order as well. And again, like the price of the watch right now is 339,000 Hong Kong dollars. And yeah, just shoot us a DM anytime and we can definitely put in an order for you guys while stock lasts.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll keep you posted. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah, there's only 30, so.
Yeah, there's only 30, so we might have to move fast. But as you were talking, in regards to what was like, who in the watch world wasn't getting enough attention, you mentioned China specifically. So is there something we can expect with China and Wristcheck with one of the watchmakers, or you can't say?
I can't say yet, but again, like us at Wristcheck, we're very much keeping our eyes open with what's happening in the Chinese watchmaking right now. Again, there's a lot of amazing artists, amazing watchmakers as well that everyone should be paying more attention to.
Okay.
On this topic, with upcoming brands,
mm-hmm.
is there any piece? I mean, I know you like to gamble and you like to make bets. Is there anything that you would bet on with your own money that would go up in price, or that you would be willing to speculate on any specific piece over the next 12 months?
I mean, look, like if you're looking for like a very stable bet, then look no further than Rolexes. They're the most liquid in the market, but also at the same time they represent market sentiment of the watch as well. So if you're looking, if you're an investor, you're looking to get exposure into the watch market, but also wear watches, then Rolex is definitely your best bet.
Yeah, Rolex is now the S&P 500 of the watch world then. Interesting. Okay.
The Rolex index.
Yeah.
Rolex index. Yeah.
If you were, I mean, you deal with tons of first-time clients.
Mm-hmm.
What is a piece of advice you would have for someone that's seeking out their first watch? I mean, I've got this question a lot, and people are always like,
right.
How much budget do I need? I've made some money. I'm looking to get my first piece. And I usually ask them what their budget is.
Right.
And when I hear 2 to 4, I'm usually like, I wouldn't. I'd maybe just wait, get to like, I always advise 8 to 10 and a little bit up. I don't even really like the 4 to 6 range.
Right.
And again, if it's a Rolex piece that they're getting, something that's going to be liquid, that's going to be interesting enough or have enough exposure, that's, I feel, is also like 8. Really, 8 is kind of pushing it nowadays. 10 and up is where you're going to be really safe. Like 10 to 15, you should be quite safe.
Yeah.
What would your feedback be?
I think I guess it really depends on why someone's going into watches first, right? Like, if it's for, personal interest, then I would say just buy what you love, buy what speaks to you. But if you're looking at an investment, then I would agree with you. I think you definitely start with the entry level Rolexes first to start building your portfolio. And then you look into, once you have portfolio Rolexes, then you look into your APs, PPs, and then later on, if you do want to look into even like higher end investments, then you look into indie pieces, big brands, FP your Riccheppis, and all these like more artisan makers based in Geneva as well. So again, there's a lot to explore in this world.
Awesome. What's Wristcheck shipping? What is Wristcheck shipping next that you can kind of hint at without Austin calling you after this goes live?
Yeah, so we actually just started testing this out, but we're actually doing remote listing, which means that we're letting certain vetted sellers list their product online, and then after the watch is sold, they can then send it to us. We'll then vet it and then send it to the buyer. So then it makes their uploading process a lot smoother as well, especially for trusted sellers that we know, they have a good collection.
Amazing. A little bit of alpha there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Kevin was going to ask you about the collab with Piaget in Hong Kong, but we've already spoken about that.
Mm-hmm.
And where can people find you and Wristcheck? Like in terms of socials and stuff, where can people find you guys and follow you?
Yeah, so Instagram, Wristcheck, and then we also have specific regional Wristchecks as well. For example, Wristcheck, we have Wristcheck NYC Instagram. For Hong Kong, we have Wristcheck ZH Instagram. If you're in Red Note, we do have Wristcheck presence there as well. We're on YouTube as well as Facebook.
Awesome.
Red
what
Note
about just
a lot of Asian market there? If you guys are using Red Note.
Yes. Yeah. We again because we have a store in Macau. We do want to speak to more Chinese customers as well. So we're also on Red Note currently.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm guessing people are able to just walk into your showrooms in Hong Kong, Macau, New York anytime they want?
Anytime.
Awesome.
Amazing.
That's great.
And what about yourself, Elton? If people want to follow you, where's the best place to give you a follow? Instagram?
My handle's Elton Yau, TONTONYAU. That's my personal Instagram. So if you have anything related to watches or even collectibles or even just gambling, you just want to kind of talk about what's the latest thing, I'm always down to chat.
Let's go, man. Well, I'll definitely shoot you a follow. I was actually born in Hong Kong myself, and maybe at some point I get to come back and visit and we can hang out.
Oh, please do, man. Please hit me up anytime.
Absolutely will do, man. In closing, a big thank you to Elton for joining us today. Thank you so much for making the time. It's been really, really cool chatting to you. Of course, to my co-founders, my co-hosts and co-founders of Watch.fun, James and Kaben, thank you guys so much as well. It's been fantastic.
Super fun first episode.
Yeah, good first episode. Thanks, Elton.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the support.
Thanks, guys.
And by the time you see this video, if you're watching this right now, Elton's drop will be live on Watch.fun, the Rolex Batman. Head over to Watch.fun if you want to enter the drop. And drop in, luck out. See you guys there.